Welcome to the JoJo's Bizarre Retrospective podcast. I'm your co-host, Andrew Kona, and with me is the actual host of the podcast that should be doing this intro, Shin.
Hello.
We're doing the second part of JoJo now, not part one because we did that one. Now it's
Yeah.
part two, Battle Tendency. Woo,
Which
spooky.
used to be my favorite part.
And is the first time JoJo actually got good.
Yeah. No, it's always
I
been good, buddy.
know, but this is when it gets more good.
This is when it becomes God tier.
This is when it actually, gets the recognition that it kind of deserves. And this was kind of Araki being like, okay, so how do I make part two, like way better and way more enjoyable? And then he's
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, part two. And then he started creating part two, and it's a secret recipe, Krabby Patty secret formula style, and it just turned into this magical just thing that we're going to talk about this episode.
Yeah.
Now, Shin, would you like to go on about basically kind of the intro? I forgot. So the intro for this part is different from the first part because they have to do that to give it some more life and have an intro that's specific. And this intro is Bloody Stream by Coda.
Yeah.
Now, what are your thoughts on this intro and the song and all that jazz?
I think this is the best JoJo intro.
It's one of my favorites.
Like, I just love the vocals, the instrumentals, and like the animation itself in the intro is like awesome.
Yeah. It's very because compared to part one, which I said last time was very kind of epic and really grand in the way it was like building up to the ending of it. This one is really like off the bat really wacky and colorful, and it's jazz, with those saxophones and those trumpets, and it's very, very kind of otherworldly and kind of, if you really think about it, it's kind of like what part one is to part two, where part one, we're like comparing intros. Part one's intro is kind of like the part, it's pretty good for what it is. I mean, but it could be better. I mean, that's, but that's not saying part one's intro is really bad. It's just like compared to other intros, it's not that good. And then part two, when it's like, it goes from like, that's pretty good to like God tier, right?
Yep.
Like, there's something about like the way like it's animated, the intro with all the colors and like showing the Pillarmen off and all the characters, and like the 3D animation has this really like pastel comic book aesthetic towards the beginning, and it's very interesting and very wacky. And Coda is like, the way he sings is so good.
Yeah, just like so much detail in this intro.
Mm-hmm. So much life, which is really good. And continue.
Like these two intros, like they have completely different tones,
And it's kind of like the parts themselves; they're both very different. And you continue. You were gonna say something, or
yeah, like I imagine people like, oh yeah, we're gonna get like another powerful, rock intro, but then they just hit us with like this, which is like a complete subversion of expectations.
There's like really cool like ways they animate everything too, with like when the Pillarmen start showing up and they're like these scribbly lines, and it's really like
it's just like they're just silhouettes with red eyes.
Yeah, it's very cool looking, and they kind of use that aesthetic later on in the show. From what I've seen, they use it for Dia and they use it for Giorno later on. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool looking. I think it still holds up as one of the best intros. In fact, it was so good they got Coda to make another one of the best JoJo OPs. So that's just a testament to either how good the song is in general, or just how good Coda is. I don't know who had more creative involvement. Probably Coda, but besides that, I think we can both agree that this is one of the best. This is one of my personal favorite like intros, not only in JoJo but just like in anime in general. Because as we talked about last time, it all kind of blends together to be the same thing, and this tries so hard to not be that it just succeeds in the end.
Yeah, like that's the thing with the JoJo intros, like they just do not sound like other anime openings.
Yeah, and
I'd say the most generic one is like Stand Proud.
Oh, that's odd, because I think the most generic one is Chase.
Oh yeah, that's the most generic one, but yeah, still, it's good.
Yeah, I think Stand Proud might be one of my favorite JoJo OPs, but I'll get to that next episode because I don't want to talk about other stuff.
Yeah.
And also, unlike the last episode where I felt like I was referencing part two too much, and saying like, "Oh, I like this aspect, but part 2 did it better." I haven't watched part 3 yet. By the time this recording goes up, I'll have started watching it. So this is from someone who has not seen any other part besides part 2, and this is kind of, I'm not going to compare it at all. Probably only to part 1, best, granted. But anyways, intro, bloody stream, final verdict.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. And that segues into plot. So, Shin, would you like to kickstart and tell us what the hell happens in part 2, Battle Tendency?
Yeah, so we leave off, Joseph is dead. Jonathan's dead.
Either or.
Well, they look so similar. You have to mix them up.
Yeah,
and that was on purpose, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at Robert E.O. Speedwagon and his Speedwagon Foundation. They go into a pyramid and they find some stone mats and like, oh no, there's more of them.
Wow,
I thought we destroyed them.
Yeah, hey Straightso, can you look at these masks for us? We brought you along here because you're a good pal. And what does Straightso do? He just becomes a dick and he's like, "No, I want to look young again." And then he puts it on and kills his friends.
I will betray you. The reason that Straightso became like a villain, like a vampire, is that Iraqi wanted to show that Joseph like already can be like a vampire. That's how much of a threat the Pillarmen are gonna be.
It's really interesting how he did that. And then we go to I think we go to New York, right?
Yeah, we're in New York. We get introduced to Joseph.
What's the year? Isn't it like the 1920s or 1910s? I always forget. It's like 1926, right? Okay. Well, either or. It's during that World War II period, and we catch up with Joseph. Well,
and this is where he befriends Smokey, who only appears in the part at the end again. Like what?
Yeah, he was meant to be the sidekick, and then Iraqi forgot, which is a common trend we'll be seeing. But
and Arena's back.
Yeah, she's just an old grandma now, because apparently she's just there mothering Joseph, and they're hanging out. And then Joseph is like, "I'm gonna take Smokey to dinner," and then they meet up with some mob guys, and they're like, actually, Smokey's black, and we don't like him." And then another guy's like, "Oh, actually, Speedwagon's dead," and then everyone's sad.
And then we get shown Joseph's like trademark ability, where he could, know what the person is gonna say. Like, your next line is.
But then he is shopping, I think, later that night, and then he meets up with Straightso, and Straightso's like, "I'm gonna kill you because no more Hammond users." And then Joseph's like, "Joke's on you, I have a Tommy gun." And then he shoots him, and they have a little scuffle that leads from that store all the way to the bridge. And then, but then he is shopping, I think, later that night, and then he meets up with Straightso, and Straightso's like, "I'm gonna kill you because no more Hammond users." And then Joseph's like, "Joke's on you, I have a Tommy gun." And then he shoots him, and they have a little scuffle that leads from that store all the way to the bridge. And then hijinks ensue before Joseph beats Straightso, and Straightso's like, "Hey dude, thank you, I'm glad I can die still being baby soft and whatever, but there's these guys called Pillarmen, I think, and they're over in these other regions." And then he explodes into dust because the sun comes up.
And then, Joseph heads over to Mexico,
And we meet one of the best characters of the part, at least in my opinion, Stroheim.
Oh, he's awesome.
He's so cool, as he forces a Mexican woman to lick a cut clean because he's kinky like that.
He is insane.
He's pretty crazy, but then again, he's a Nazi. Oh yeah, Nazis exist in this part.
And they don't really go over them as much as they do in the manga.
They don't even they don't call them Nazis in the show. Don't they call them that in the manga?
Yes, they do. They go into they even show Hitler in the manga.
Yeah, they show Hitler in the manga. We like to continue on with what happens in this Mexico arc.
Yeah, they're messing with Santana, the Pillarman they found. Messing with them, and then they realize how smart he is. He already learned to speak, whatever language they're speaking then.
Yeah.
Santana's not even a powerful Pillarman. He's a fodder Pillarman.
Which is good at showing how powerful the other ones will be.
Yeah.
And Joseph has a battle with a Nazi spy, I think, beforehand. And then he's like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna go sneak in and become a trap." And then he dresses as a chick, and then tries to seduce Nazi officers. It fails, and then he just breaks in and then fights Santana, and him and Stroheim team up to kill Santana.
Mm-hmm.
But Stroheim basically kills himself in the process by exploding, by activating a grenade before saying that there's other Pillarmen in, like, I think it's Italy or Rome.
Italy.
Right. Okay, it's Italy. And he's like, yeah, there's Pillarmen in Italy. Santana's inside me. Bye. Then he explodes. And then Joseph finishes off Santana.
Oh, Rome, actually.
Oh, it is Rome, right.
Yeah.
But then he goes to Rome, and then who does he meet? To seduce Nazi officers. It fails. And then he just breaks in and then fights Santana. And him and Stroheim team up to kill Santana.
Mm-hmm.
But Stroheim basically kills himself in the process by exploding, by activating a grenade before saying that there's other Pillarmen in, like, I think it's Italy or Rome.
Italy.
Right. Okay, it's Italy. And he's like, yeah, there's Pillarmen in Italy. Santana's inside me. Bye. Then he explodes. And then Joseph finishes off Santana.
Oh, Rome, actually.
Oh, it is Rome, right.
Yeah.
But then he goes to Rome, and then who does he meet?
He meets Caesar Zappelli.
Caesar Zappelli.
Yeah, and they do not get along at all.
Because Zappelli's all like, you're the reason my dad's dead, and I don't... No, his granddad. You're the reason my granddad's dead, I don't like you. And then Joseph's like, I don't know who you are. And then they have a little scuffle. And then Speedwagon's like, I'm still alive, and I do not approve. And then they meet up with a really wholesome Nazi officer to go to where the Pillarmen are.
Mm-hmm.
And as the Nazis are checking out what the Pillarmen are doing in those pillars, suddenly some really cool dubstep Aztec rock starts playing, and they break out and they start causing havoc and killing all the Nazi guys.
So yeah, Joseph and Caesar, they confront the Pillarman, and then they already learn that the Pillarman, like, they already know how to deal with these hormone users, so they're nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so Alamu easily defeat them, you know?
Yeah, he even kills the wholesome Nazi officer boy.
Mm-hmm. And there's like a whole moment with that.
Yeah.
Caesar's very sad about it.
And then he gets in a flamboyant pose and tries to fight them, which doesn't turn out so well. And then Lamu fights a little bit with Caesar, and then he fights with Joseph. And then he's like, oh boy, this Joseph guy sure is strong. And then he's like, yo, I'm going to do something really crazy. I'm going to put he puts a ring around his windpipe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then another Pillarman, AC/DC, is like, yo, I'm going to hop in on this because I don't have much to do in this part. So I'm going to put a ring around your rib cage or something, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and then Cars is like, what are you guys doing?
And that's where Caesar, like, develops a little bit of respect for Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
So then they go to train...
in Italy, right?
Mm-hmm. No, Venice. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, it's Venice.
That is Italy now?
Italy. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, they get trained by Lisa.
And they have an entire episode dedicated to climbing a greasy pillar.
Mm-hmm.
Man. And they succeed, and they do good. And then she's like, okay, fight my two Asian henchmen. And they also do that. But in the credits, and not the actual episode.
Joseph has, like, a little bit of time left. Like, he's running out of time, you know?
Yeah. They train for, like half a month or so.
And then later at night, Joseph finds AC/DC, who also killed Lisa's other people.
But we don't care, because we don't see him for that long.
Yeah, and they're kind of like nobodies.
Mm-hmm. And then AC/DC fights Joseph, and he's like, I'm the fire-type Pokemon. And they fight, then he cries for a little bit, and then continues fighting before he literally explodes at the end of the fight.
Mm-hmm. Well, it turns out he actually survived and possessed Suzy Q.
Yeah, he hops on Joseph's back, and then Joseph's like, hey, Suzy Q, I'd totally smash you. And then she walks away with the brain on her back.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets possessed. And then Joseph is peeking at Lisa in the shower, which is weird when you figure out who she is later on.
Yeah.
And then they have to fight Suzy Q for a little bit before they realize that AC/DC possessed Suzy Q, so she could send the redstone to Aja, which is on Lisa,
mm-hmm.
to in Italy, I think, like farther down in Italy.
Yeah.
Because one of the Pillarmen is waiting there.
Cars, he's gonna go obtain the Super Aja himself. So yeah, there's an entire scuffle with him during that part. But then Stroheim was revealed to be rebuilt as a cyborg. So then he does some crazy stuff with that, which I thought was awesome.
He has a dope 2 minutes of fighting before he gets cut in half, and then it's
Yeah.
all about Joseph trying to outrun cars for the stone. And they fall down a pit, and they stay. Oh my God! It's 5 seconds until they hit the ground, and then the fight lasts for 2 more minutes, and then they finally beat Cars, and Cars falls, and then he leaves, and then they're talking a bit more about what to do. And Caesar's like, "Bro, I got to go to this mansion where Wamu's hiding at because I want to kill him for good." And Joseph is like, "No, Caesar, you can't do that, you stupid Italian." And then they have a little scuffle before Caesar goes to fight Wamu because we learn about his past, which is that his dad was looking for the stone masks, which were created by the Pillarmen, and his dad died because of it. So he kind of wants to avenge his granddad and father because they spent their entire lives working to get for those masks to be destroyed. So he has one of the best fights in the series so far, fighting Wamu before he is sadly crushed by a giant cross from the ceiling and killed, but not before forming one last bubble with his own blood to hide the antidote in Wamu's ring and the Zappelli headband. And Wamu's like, man, I should probably destroy that, but Caesar was pretty cool, so I'll just leave it there. And then Joseph and Lisa go, and they cry a lot, and it's really sad. We'll get to that later.
Then they find a random vampire that they kill with no issue at all.
Yeah. And then they go, and Taurus is like, "Hey, what you doing here? We're gonna kill you with all my hundreds of zombie henchmen, or like vampire henchmen. I'm gonna challenge you guys. So, like, we're gonna do a one-on-one with Wamu and Joseph, and then we're gonna do a one-on-one with me and Lisa. And they lead into probably the best few fights of this part, which is the Wamu and Joseph chariot race, and the Lisa and Cars scuffle.
Joseph and Wamu, they have like an awesome battle
with vampire horses.
Vampire horses. Do they just like make a mask just for the horses, or what?
I don't know, because like that can't fit on a horse. It's not no, it like spikes the brain, right? That's why because spikes protrude out. So do they put it on like the top of the horse's head, and the spikes would get the brain that way?
Probably.
I don't know if they just, yeah. I think it would still work, right? It's not like they had to make their own like stone horse mask.
Yeah, Wamu's killed, in an honorable way. Like Joseph and Wamu, they have respect for each other.
They kind of have a little bromance going on.
Yeah, really wholesome, actually.
Rule 34 depicted it greatly.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, Cars is being a trickster and just completely disobeys the rules, which makes a lot of sense. Like why is he gonna waste his time on a duel when he could just get what he wants now?
That's actually one of my favorite like moments of this like part 2, and I'll get into that later. Stroheim comes out of nowhere.
Stroheim and Speedwagon and Smokey. So yeah, Cars just fakes his death basically. Well, I don't know. They secretly putting the Aja into his own special mask.
Which I don't know how he got that mask. He probably hid it in his cool little Aztec diaper thingy, but that would be really uncomfortable.
Yeah. So yeah, they're gonna put the UV light cannon on him, but little do they know he has the mask on, and they're actually powering him up to become the ultimate life form. So yeah,
and
awesome moment where he turns into the ultimate life form, and Stroheim screaming his head off because like he messed up incredibly badly.
Yeah, and then the sun rises, and he's like, "Oh, I'm the ultimate life form now." And then, this happens beforehand. He actually turns his hand into a squirrel to kill a squirrel, and then murder Stroheim's insides for a little bit before calling the squirrel back and then testing how he can manipulate his body to different life forms.
He tames the sun.
Yeah, he even overpowers the sun, and thus we get the final battle against Cars, where he turns into a Birdman, and then Joseph starts flying in a plane, and he's going all zoomy around. He's like, "I'm gonna crash into a volcano and sacrifice myself, just like my granddad and like my father before me." Because we learned that for some reason, like, there's a vampire commander in the military, and that his dad was like a Navy SEAL. And he's like, "Oh, I don't approve of this." And then the commander ate him. And then Lisa, who he learned to be Joseph's mom, killed that guy. And then she had to run away because the cops were after her, and she had to go under a new identity. Confusing stuff, and it's all explained in like 5 minutes, and I kind of forgot about it till right now. So,
what can you do?
Yeah. Anyways, would you like to finish this part off, or at least the final battle with Cars?
Yeah, so we're on the plane and we realize that Strawheim was on that plane the entire time.
which is really funny. But
Yeah, but it
yeah.
helps them a lot. So yeah, Cars gets launched into the lava, and the two strong characters, Strawheim and Joseph, they get together. They celebrate a little, like, oh, we defeated them. And then out of nowhere, Cars comes out the ground, cuts off Joseph's arm with like some crab armor.
Yeah.
And that awesome theme is playing again.
Yeah, that dubstep Aztec music. And then Cars is like, bro, I can overpower you now because I can make my Hammond like 10 times, like 100 times better than yours. And he's like boasting and like being a Chad, if we're going to use those terms correctly.
Yeah.
But then as he's about to strike Joseph, Joseph for no reason pulls out the Redstone of Aja and he's like, oh, joke's on you, Redstone of Aja. And then like, if you really think about it, the amount of Hammond that Cars was using was like 100 times what Joseph was using. And like Hammond's super powerful already, and 100 times that is even more powerful. But the amount of light refracting off of that is just as big as the sun, basically. So it kind of, causes the ground to shake and then them to fly up. And Cars is like, I'm gonna leave. I'm about to head out.
Joseph's arm impales him in the neck, and it stops him from even flying away. Like, he gets so distracted that like he just can't do anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, then they keep on flying. Joseph is gloating that this was all part of his plan,
even though it totally wasn't.
Yeah, this is just kind of the, oh, that just happened.
It's a big coincidence.
Yeah. Like anything could have happened at that point. But yeah, Cars goes into space, and he eventually stops thinking.
Because he's just floating through space endlessly, which kind of sucks for him.
Yeah.
But Joseph is like, I'm gonna go to sleep now, and then he falls into the ocean and is presumed dead. There's a funeral for him, like a few months later. But then he comes back with a cool robot hand and says, "Hey guys, like I actually survived that, and like I'm marrying Susie Q. We're married now, and like Stroheim gave me this cool robot hand." And then he starts attacking Susie Q because she forgot to tell everyone that he was still alive. And it's wholesome. We figure out that a Speedwagon died of a heart attack at the age of 89 or so. And then everyone cries. And then Stroheim is revealed to have died during a World War II battle. And the last time we ever see him is him wholesomely smiling at the camera before he pulls out 10 machine guns from his back and murders some Americans. And then we cut to 1989 or so, where now he's in Japan and looking really weird. Maybe it was the art style, I don't know, but he looked really off as an old dude. And he gets mad at a Japanese dude because he might be racist, who knows? But that's not important. You know what is important? He has a cool Sony Walkman. And then the credits roll.
Yeah. So what would you rate the plot,
Oh, the plot?
Yeah.
I think it's way better than part one, because part one kind of felt all over the place to me.
Yeah. But this is focused,
Well, actually, not all over the place. I think it just felt kind of too tame, and there wasn't enough to do.
They weren't adventuring enough,
Yeah, and like I think this is a problem with both parts. Where like something I find funny about part one is that like the main group is just a bunch of random people that have nothing to do with each other. You get some like dandy British gentleman, you get a magician, Italian magician, and then you get a British thief, and that's all you get for like for like the main group. And then for this one, it's a little bit like everyone is a little bit similar. They're less like weird and kind of like out there. But the problem with it is that just like part one is that there's only like one or two good supporting characters. Or like no, there's a lot here, but like most of the good supporting characters don't really show up for that much, and then if they don't do that, then they die pretty early on.
Yeah.
But I still think that this is like much better than part one, because like the thing I love about it is that it's super stupid and silly, but never feels like you can't take it seriously. Even in the final battle, like it's really fun, but also really serious about what's going on, and never kind of goes too far into being too like dour and epic. Like part one's really melodramatic with all like the family drama, then the death and all the sadness, very Shakespearean. But here it feels more like it's fun. You can still really like have a lot of fun with it, even though you're still feeling all these emotions and all this sadness and all this like craziness that's ensuing, basically. And I think it's way better, and it flows much better. I think it could
Yeah.
totally work as a movie. I mean, part one could, but part one's so boring. Like, there's not a lot happens where you
There'd
could,
be a lot
you
of
know?
slow-paced moments.
It'd be really slow paced. But
Yeah.
part two, like if they're gonna make JoJo movies, which I don't think they'd ever do, or that they should do,
They
could
made
totally
one.
like, yeah, oh yeah, but we never saw it. No, part two is really good, plot wise.
Yeah, I'd like to say that like this part never ever feels slow paced. Like you could argue that during the training section it was a little slow paced, but that
Yeah.
only lasted for like an episode. So
Yeah,
meanwhile, in part one, you know, there was like 3 episodes which felt slow.
part two is very, very good in terms of plot and it flows good. I think I'm repeating myself, but what about the characters? That's kind of like the main reason you watch this show. You don't watch it for the plot. That's what hentai's for. You watch this for the characters. So let's start with the main character, main JoJo. This part, Joseph.
Joseph Joestar. Yeah, he's awesome. I love him. I know
Yeah,
he's like a fan favorite JoJo because like he's funny, you know, he's cool.
Yeah. Compared to Jonathan, Jonathan's really boring because he just always has this one emotion the entire time. But Joseph is like, he's super funny and doesn't take really anything seriously, and that's why I love him. Because even in the final battle, he's still like, "Oh, I can best you cars because I can like, I'm gonna drive straight into a volcano, or I can."
Or he's like,
he jumps off a cliff out of nowhere, and then he comes out in a Nazi bomber. It's really weird.
It's like, I have one plan left that might work. What is it? Run away.
And he starts. I love that animation so much, and like, that's the best part about his character is that like, unlike Jonathan, who'd be like, I'm gonna fight you, Dio, no matter what happens," and it's like epic and like all melodramatic. It's just super silly and campy with all the Joseph fights, and that's what I love so much about this part. Is that like, it's kind of what the tone JoJo looks like it's gonna be keeping from this point onwards. A mix of this is so stupid and funny, but also like this is actually kind of like dark, but also really emotional. He's really silly and dorky. He always predicts what his enemies are gonna say. He literally improvises everything, but like he's still kind of like he's still similar to Jonathan in like the fact that he's really selfless. He even like thinks he's gonna die when he does like the final battle stuff. I think that's why the final battle, or like the final 2 episodes are like way better than the finale of part one. Because like, well, in terms of like emotion, like I kind of felt more emotion like during Jonathan's death, but like they kept on building up that Joseph was gonna die, and you totally think that he is because like you saw the first JoJo die. What makes you think that the second one isn't? And the entire battle is about like Joseph is probably gonna die. There's no way he can get out of this, and it feels really hopeless, but still campy and silly to an extent. But you can still feel the dramatic weight that's being held. And the final battle doesn't really do all that much. Like compared to other fights, it's kind of tame. You can kind of like pinpoint everything in like 3 acts, but like the entire thing hinges on that emotional connection to Jonathan and the probability that he's gonna die. I think that's very, very like well done.
Yep. Joseph, like he's like a complete expectation subversion of what you expect like a manga protagonist to be. Like you expect him to be honorable, you know, we want a good fight always. Like that crappy manga called Dragon Ball or whatever.
Yeah, I never read it. I don't.
Yeah, no one cares about that. Come on.
What's this, the North Star? I don't know.
Yeah, but First the North Star is cool.
I haven't seen that. I kind of want to get into Dragon Ball though, but like it's too long. Anyways, this is a giant tangent.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, Joseph's like you do not expect like what he's gonna do at all. Like he's so crazy. And he's just awesome.
Also, yeah, it also helps that like he uses Haman in very interesting ways. Because
like he's gonna use some spaghetti to poke a guy.
Yeah, that was funny and also really creative. Or like how he's like dropping the string when he's talking to cars all around the place, but like they catch him doing it. Or like my favorite moment. This is like the big like oh wow moment. Like watching part 2 that I never had in JoJo prior is like during the chariot race when like Wamu has him cornered and he shoots a crossbow and misses, but the bolt comes straight like riding along the wall right back through Wamu's chest. And that was so cool because like I didn't expect that, and it was so clever, and it was calling back to something that happened earlier in the fight. And I'll get into that fight later once we start talking about how good the fights are. But it also helps that Joseph being this way helps him kind of be way more fun in fights. And he's
Yeah.
not always joking around. When he's serious, you can still like feel it's believable. Because the thing that's I noticed is tying all these JoJo's together is their compassion for others and their kind of selflessness. And I'm really curious to see how that transitions over to Jotaro or Josuke or Johnny and all the gang. Anything you want to say about Joseph?
He's like awesome. Like he's a jokester, but he's also, when the time comes where he's gonna be serious.
Yeah.
And he can use Hamon in like any way he wants. Like that's the thing in this part. Like he can do like practically anything he wants with Hamon.
Yeah. I love his designs. Because he dresses in many different costumes throughout the show, but like all his costumes are so cool looking and so like stylish.
Yeah, his bandana's really cool.
Yeah, the bandana or like the costume he wears during the Wamu chariot fight's probably my favorite. And it's kind of like the iconic one for him. You got the scarf, you got the headband, you got the t-shirt, and all that. And it's so good looking for him. And he also has a really cool outfit in New York. And this is when Araki was like, I can make my characters look really stylish now, and he starts doing that a lot. And especially because 1920s, there's a lot of cool old-fashioned like wardrobes. It's very interesting. What would you say is his best outfit though? Because I'm going
yeah, I think his trademark outfit is the best, where he just has like a tank top, his bandana, some pants.
Did you ever see how Araki's drawing Joseph and Jonathan now? Cause it's really weird.
No, isn't it like in his new Part 8 style?
No, well, not that. I mean, kind of. I mean, that's not really the problem. It's more so that now Jonathan's design has the Zeppeli bandana, and Joseph has a pilot's goggles and helmet because he's a failed pilot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's cool looking, but it's weird.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. All right. So how your character highlight was when he did that thing with the crossbow?
Yeah, what's your character highlight? I'd love to hear that, bro.
Yeah, I love when he pulled out a Tommy gun and just blasted Strizo.
Yeah, that Straight-So fight was like the best fight. Like from that point, when I watched him, like this Straight-So fight's so fun. When he has the grenades on his back and he pulls them all at the same time.
Like that's where the part where you realize, yeah, you're hooked to this part already.
It's when you realize that this is not part one, and it makes you so excited that it isn't.
Yeah.
No, that's mean. I think we talked about Joseph for a while now. He's just really.
You want to move on to Caesar now?
Yeah, Caesar. I think that Caesar, because like I liked Zeppeli in the last part, but I felt like it was very bland. And Caesar kind of has the same issue for the first half, but once we get into like his last episode with him fighting Wamu, like all that stuff just works so well. I feel because like I love his design, even though like it looks a lot like Dio, like from like the neck up with like the hair and the like bandana under the scraggly blonde hair. But that's not a problem actually. Like I think it still looks really good. I love like the wings. I love I love all the aesthetic. I don't know. I'm getting into an entire tangent. I just love how he looks. But
yeah, same here.
And also his ability is cool. It's the first time we don't see Hamon being used traditionally.
The bubble Hamon.
Do they ever explain how he can actually form bubbles? Does he have like bubble, like what's like the bubble juice he can just rub it in his hands and then like make it like that?
Does he have like Bubble Buddy or something?
Yeah, does he have one of those? They never explain that he shoots bubbles.
Yeah. We just kind of roll with it, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love like the clothes he's wearing. They look incredibly cool. Honestly, a hot take. I think he has cooler clothes than Joseph.
Yeah, I think so too. Mostly because the best outfits we see of Joseph don't last that long. Like the cool chariot race outfit, he like loses the bandana and scarf, and then he's just like. I actually think this kind of is really funny for the finale. It's about this ultimate life form, like Aztec god, fighting some dude in like pants and a t-shirt. I always found that really funny watching it.
Yeah.
But,
anyways,
like,
yeah,
continue.
Yeah, Zeppeli, like he's like what you expect a typical anime protagonist to be like. He's like honorable. He's serious. Like he's not gonna want to mess around. Unlike Joseph.
Yeah.
But when you first like introduced him, yeah, he seems like he comes off as pretty arrogant, and and he's talking about Joseph's dead grandfather, and he's like,
"It's really
you caused this. If it wasn't for him, like wow, Like, how do you come back from that?
Yeah, you can feel the bond him and Joseph built was that well done though. I guess it could have been because we didn't see much of it, but I thought whatever we did have was pretty alright. I just wish I wish we got to see more interaction before his death.
Yeah.
But like his final fight against Wamu is so good because something I did not talk about in the last episode was that the narration from both the characters and then also the narrator chosen for the show it's just a lot of exposition. They just explain everything, and that happens here too. But like in moments where I'm like, I really don't like. There's some parts where it works really well, like with Caesar, which I'm about to get into, and there's other times where I just don't care, like the Bruford and Lisa flashback.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but with Caesar, like it's kind of annoying because it could have been told differently, but like it works so well, like seeing all that unfold and hearing about his life, because it all happens in one episode, the flashback and then the fight. And the fight's so, like, it's much more emotional and impactful because you have different context now for what's going on. It's more personal. And, like, the thing that really gets me is that the last attack he does isn't an attack. It's just a selfless act for him to help Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
And, like,
that's
when
like
he dies,
his fate as a Zappelli, that he's always going to have to help a Joestar.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, this is for my family, but, I'm going to do this for the greater good. And it's really emotional. I was like, oh, this is sad. And then, like, when Joseph and Lisa find the body, I'm like, oh, it's still sad. But the minute, like, that Italian, like, opera started, like, getting louder and louder, and then, like, the blood starts leaking from the cross, I was like, this is... I almost cried, not gonna lie. I was like, this is so, like, well done.
Me too. Like,
it was, like, even, like, the Shiza thing, which is mean to death now. Like, in that moment, I'm like, this is so sad.
Mm-hmm.
But
do you have any highlight for Caesar?
Probably that entire Wamu fight, because it's different from most JoJo fights so far. Because most of them they do an attack and they're like, you fool, you stepped into my shadow and I get to attack you and you step in my shadow. Which happens with Wamu, but he never does it again, but whatever. I'm just getting off track. No, but like, it's always explaining and over, like, it's really a lot of exposition. But here it's just straightforward, just them attacking each other. You already know their abilities and just seeing them go at it. And whenever they do explain, it's really cool and interesting. And like the way Caesar gets beaten is so like, it's so cool because like in that split second he was over Wamu's like, oh, I'm gonna throw hurricanes at you now. And the best part is that at any moment, like Caesar could die because the hurricanes are so powerful. There was a lot of tension too. It's like a David and Goliath fight, where it's this guy who's just making quick jabs at Wamu this entire time, where in any moment Wamu could just kill him in one hit.
On that topic of David versus Goliath, like JoJo made me think that weak characters that can defeat way stronger enemies are way cooler. Yeah,
because they're like more clever with their abilities, and that's kind of with all the fights, because everyone's an underdog, and the Pillage Men are these big, overbearing, powerful figures. And it's super interesting to see how just these Hamon users can beat them. It's way better than part 1, where it's kind of just... I mean, then again, you don't really know much about Hamon by that point, because it's so, like, it's explained really poorly. But what's your Caesar Zappelli highlight? Because mine's just the entire Wamu fight.
Yeah. I think, like, his final act before he dies.
Yeah.
Of retrieving the ring from Wamu.
Yeah,
like that whole moment was just amazing.
Especially when he's like the sun's shining through the window and he's like giving that last speech and everything's golden and it's I love it. But I think we can all agree that Caesar was really good.
He was great.
Any final thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, I think that he's kind of okay in the first half, but once like the first Stroheim fight's over. Then he starts becoming way more interesting, and it shocks me that so little like time to develop like Caesar kind of like made a big impact, because then I really cared for him in that final battle. But I'm just gushing about how great that episode is in total. Lisa.
She's great too.
Yeah, I didn't like her in the beginning because I just thought she was just a generic mentor figure.
Yeah.
But and also she was just used for fan service a lot. Like. Fan service is just a problem in like Japanese media in general. Not even anime, just in media from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see it in some tokusatsu stuff, you see it in just melodramas. It might be it's just a thing with the culture. I mean, it's not what I like personally. I don't know, a lot of people do, but it kind of gets annoying here. Where like Joseph is like, "Oh, Lisa, I was stuck in that pit. You mind if I like take your clothes off?" And it's like, "What? Why do you immediately jump to that as your first like way of punishing her?" Like, and then you spot her taking a bath, and like the entire fight, she's like butt naked, and it's like, okay, why?
Yeah.
But I love her design with that scarf and like the shades on. Like once they get to Italy, she doesn't have a lot of fights, which kind of sucks. But her fights, whenever she's actually attacking, are super fun and interesting. But the problem is that they don't really last long. Have any thoughts on her? That you
No,
want?
Lisa started the whole thing about like a character doesn't have to be like super buff to be, powerful. That's where
Yeah.
like the whole thing with stands came from. Like a character can look like any way they want
Mm-hmm.
as long as they like have power,
Yeah, it's about their endurance and their spirit more so than their physical capabilities. I do wish that Cars and Lisa fight lasted longer, or like if she fought more. But because she fights a pathetic vampire and kills him in like 1 second, and then she like fights Cars for like 2 seconds before getting like yeeted out.
It's possible she could have beat Cars herself.
Totally could have.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I like her a lot though. I think her being Joseph's mom was really cool. I like that. It was a fun little twist. Yeah, she's just a cool character that I wish we could have seen more of though.
Mm-hmm.
That's my only complaint, that she doesn't really do much. But whenever she does do stuff, it's really interesting.
Also, another thing is like you don't expect like a strong woman character like at this time. Like it was the 80s.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Araki was a feminist before feminists were a thing.
It's very brave of Araki.
Mm-hmm. What was I gonna say? Next character.
Strong.
Yeah, we both said at the same time.
Awesome.
Okay, so like I before my first thing with JoJo's that I knew there was a Nazi cyborg at some point. And I saw this out of context clip of him like fighting at like a guy in a trench coat and then like doing this like seg hail and then like having a machine gun come out of his stomach, and I was like, this show looks so stupid. What is it? And that's kind of the first exposure I got to JoJo.
I need this show.
And before I watched part 2, I was talking to my friend, and he watches JoJo, and he was all like, I kind of stopped in part 2, like halfway through. When they introduced this Nazi cyborg, I just kind of like lost it. I just kind of didn't. I kind of like lost involvement because it was so silly. And I was like, okay, I'll see how it goes. And like when Strawman is introduced, I'm like, he's okay. But the moment that made me fall in love with him is when he's like, talking to Speedwagon, and he's all like, Speedwagon. And I'm like, oh my god, he's perfect. And he's yelling all the time, and he's so like over the top. It's really funny.
Like that's his whole thing.
It's like Speedwagon in part 1, but like way more intense and German.
And cool.
Yeah, and like he also has a problem with Lisa where he doesn't really do a lot of fighting. But whenever he is fighting, it's so like funny and just so fun to watch. He's just screaming and then doing some Nazi quotes and then like firing a machine gun out of his chest or like a laser beam out of his eye.
Yeah, my favorite moment of his is when he just pulls out a machine gun from his chest and fires onto Cars.
Yeah, that's funny. Is that your highlight for him? Like that little scuffle with Cars? I just love how like something I found really funny is that nobody really likes Stroheim. They always talk about like, you're a Nazi, we don't really want to work with you, but okay. But like, it's funny because like out of the entire cast, he's the one nobody likes because he's just a Nazi. But he just happens to also be on the same page that they are, so they have no choice but to work with him.
Like,
you kind of
the pillar men are the issue here. Let's deal with them.
Yeah, that's cool about JoJo that it like part 3 looks like this too. It looks like it's just a bunch of people from different backgrounds and cultures coming together to fight like one common, work for one common goal. But yeah, no, Stroheim was really fun. I would have said that was my highlight, the Cars little scuffle. But my highlight is when out of nowhere in the final battle, he comes out of the plane and he was there the whole time for some reason. Like, I don't know if it was part of the plan or if he's like, oh, I know Joseph isn't getting this plane, but he's in the plane the whole time and only helps him, like, he's getting attacked in the cockpit. And I find that so funny. No, I really like him. I think he's really funny, and I kind of wish we saw more of him. but the part's already long as is, and the plot has to keep going. But what he had was really fun and enjoyable. So, any final thoughts on Stroheim before we get to the main villains?
Love him, great character.
Very good. He's he's my favorite character of part 2. Well, like favorite side character.
Yeah, favorite side character. So you want to start with AC/DC first?
Yeah. I think that AC/DC is okay. Like, I think his name's hella funny. How it's like Araki being like, "How can I get out of copyright?" And he just says AC/DC like how it's spells it how it's said. But outside of the name being like a cool reference, I found him kind of okay.
He's like the least interesting out of all the Pillarmen.
Yeah, because at least with Santana, who doesn't really have a gimmick or like a power, he's like being introduced, and it's this cool thing of seeing him grow and learn and evolve. But I found AC/DC to be kind of one note. He's like, "Oh, I can shoot fire," and I was like, "Okay." And the fights with him is really good. But my favorite thing about him, and this is with every Pillarman, and you can tell me if you agree or not, is that they're all so damn relatable and whatnot. Because they could have easily just been these big, overpowering buff men who want to kill humans, but all these really stupid quirks that I find so funny. Like AC/DC crying for like a minute straight and then being like, "Oh, I feel so much better now. I cry when I'm under stress. Thank you for noticing." And it's like...
Yeah, that's my highlight for him when he just starts crying.
But it's also like... I'm going to get into this later with like Wamu and Cars, but like all the Pillarmen except for Cars are like... They're not just like evil. Like they're like, "Oh, that's pretty cool what you did there. I actually appreciate that move. That's really cool." Or like, "Oh, I'm sorry I stepped in your shadow, dude. Like I hope you feel better." It's like they're just like dudes who are super buff and powerful and like have a kind of a malicious goal in mind. Except not really, only Cars does. But I think that the Pillarmen are better antagonists than Dio in part 1. That's my hot take.
Oh, I could agree. But did you know that Cars is actually, I think, Araki's least favorite villain that he wrote?
Really? I could see that, actually. But I think... I'll get into Cars later, but I think Cars is a much more like fun and kind of interesting villain than Dio in part 1. And concept and also like
design?
How he goes along. Well, design too, but like I think... I'll get into Cars later. But AC/DC, final thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's okay.
Yeah.
Like, he has a cool ability with the heat and stuff.
Also weird, too, though, that, like, out of all the 3 Pillarmen, he's the one least focused on. Even though in the flashback, he's said to be Cars' right-hand man. So, like, it's weird that we see, like, him the least out of the main 3. But it kind of shows, like, how powerful not Johnny, I'm getting confused, sorry. Joseph is at this time, being able to take out the right-hand man for Cars. But now we're getting to my second favorite Pillarman, Wamu. So I want you to go on with Wamu. Like, tell me what you think of him.
Yeah, Wamu is like... He could be he's not going to want to win a battle unfairly, with trickery.
Yeah.
And it's like so funny that the villain of the part wants to fight with honor, and the protagonist is going to win any way he can.
Yeah.
And I love that dynamic.
He's my favorite type of anime, like not anime villain, but it's my favorite type of villain trope, where he's like... You ever seen Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah.
It's funny I bring that up because this is basically just anime Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
But in Indiana Jones, in every single movie, there's always like the big right-hand man of the main villain who's like a big buff dude, and he fights Indiana Jones throughout the entire part. And they have this big rivalry outside of the main villain and main hero rivalry. I love that's like the role Wamu fills, where he has 3 fights with Joseph. Or no, just 3 fights in general. 2 with Joseph, 1 with Caesar. He's like the main kind of destructive force. I think I love that trope, and also it's just executed really well. Because like he fights Joseph and he's like, "Oh, this guy sucks. He's not gonna do much." And he's like, "Oh wait, he can do a lot." And then he fights Caesar, same kind of thing. And he's like, "You know what? I have honor for these guys." And the third fight, it's him being like, "Yo, I hope it all goes well, Joseph." Like, he doesn't view battle as like I need to kill you at all costs. He views it more as like a sport,
Yeah, it's like it's what gives him enjoyment,
Yeah, he just likes fighting fairly. He's just like, "Oh, good battle, dude. Like, good game." And like, I think his death too is like one of my favorite moments. It's my highlight moment for him outside of his final attack. What's his final attack called? he's my favorite type of anime, like not anime villain, but it's my favorite type of villain trope, where he's like, you ever seen Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah.
It's funny I bring that up because this is basically just anime Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
But in Indiana Jones, in every single movie, there's always like the big right-hand man of the main villain, who's like a big buff dude, and he
Yeah.
fights Indiana Jones throughout the entire part. And they have this big rivalry outside of the main villain and main hero rivalry. I love that's like the role Wamu fills, where he has 3 fights with Joseph, or no, just 3 fights in general. 2 with Joseph, 1 with Caesar. And he's like the main kind of destructive force. I think that's like, I love that trope, and also it's just executed really well because like he fights Joseph and he's like, oh, this guy sucks. He's not gonna do much. And he's like, oh wait, he can do a lot. And then he fights Caesar, same kind of thing. And he's like, you know what? I have honor for these guys. And the third fight, it's him being like, yo, I hope it all goes well, Joseph. Like he doesn't view battle as like I need to kill you at all costs. He views it more as like a sport, you know?
Yeah, it's like it's what gives him enjoyment, you know?
Yeah, he just likes fighting fairly. He's just like, oh, good battle, dude. Like good game. And like I think his death too is like one of my favorite moments. It's my highlight moment for him outside of his final attack. What's his final attack called?
Divine Sandstorm?
Yeah, I think it's Divine Sandstorm or something. Sounds like the Rude Sandstorm, but that's I'm getting ahead of myself. But I love his final moment where he's like, you know what, Joseph, I'm gonna be honest with you. I loved seeing you grow as a fighter, bro, and I'm so proud of you. And I was like, dude, this is so wholesome. Like, not even gonna lie. And like, it's less of a villain death and more of like a kind of, I mean, not really a villain death, but it's like it's more like rewarding to see him go. Cause he's like, I'm proud of you, dude. Like, good job. I'm really proud of like you growing and whatnot. And it's like I love the bond between him and Joseph.
You know, like you did not expect this out of a villain, you know?
Yeah, I totally didn't, because I thought he would just be a dick the whole time.
And even Joseph developed some respect for Wamu.
Yeah, he salutes him in the end, and he lets him. He like heals his pain, like his death. He's like trying to make him feel better, like less suffering.
Yeah.
I think he's probably my second favorite Pillarman.
I think he's my favorite, actually.
I could see that. Any final thoughts on him? What's your highlight moment?
A highlight moment was when he uses his Divine Sandstorm to kill Caesar. Because like you think that Caesar has this in the bag. There's no way that he's gonna lose this. And then Mamu just breaks out his Divine Sandstorm and like eradicates Caesar basically.
Right. And the best part of thing about that fight is that it was one small mistake that led to his death. But that goes into
that's how powerful these Pillarmen are. One mistake is gonna kill you.
Yeah, that goes into the entire Zappelli rant, but like I think I can see that. His fights are really good because he's simple enough to where like you can just have him like fight in a really quick match like with Caesar, but he's also like not too complex. Whereas you need to explain what his ability is, like in the Stroheim fight where he's like Car's about to cut Stroheim, and it's like a minute of like he actually has like 10,000 blades running down his actual blade on his arm, and it reflects light, and it's like this entire like essay, and it's like okay, I get it, but
okay, I get it. It's a really good blade.
Yeah. So Car's the last Pillarman, and like compared to Dio, where I thought that he was fun but really kind of generic, Cars is not only like really fun to watch, but like seeing his growth throughout the part is like really interesting. And also his motives are like they're okay. Like I can relate to them. But like something I noticed that he's very like selfless. He uses a mask on himself when he creates it because like he knew it could have killed someone if he like tried it on someone else. He's like, let me experiment this on myself. If I die, I die. But if if it works, it works. Like, it's a 50-50 chance. And he took that risk for the better of his civilization. But everyone turned on him because they thought he was evil. And he had to kill them all because they were attacking him. And it wasn't out of, like, his own, like, wanting to kill them. He only did it out of self-defense, which I found was really interesting. He starts off being like, oh, I don't want to focus on them. I'm annoyed. Like, let's just get the stone and whatnot. And he's, like, the more it goes along, the more and more irritated he gets with Joseph. To the point where he's like, I'm not even gonna fight fairly. I'm gonna cheat my way to victory. And this is what I meant by this is one of my favorite parts. He cheats in the fight, and Joseph is being a hypocrite, like, oh no, you can't cheat in a fight. You can't do that. That's unfair, bro. You can't do that. And then Cars is like, yes, I can, you dick. Like you've been doing it this whole time. And he starts becoming more and more of an asshole because now he just doesn't care. He's like, stop calling me out for cheating when you cheat all the time. And he just gets. I love because he starts to like, stop caring. He starts like becoming really dorky. he like plays a guitar on Lisa's leg,
Uh huh.
and he just stops caring, and I think that's so funny. Where Dio is like, kind of like the same throughout the entire part. He grows from being super serious and boring to being super wacky and weird. Because, like, I'm pretty sure all the weird stuff he does, like making a killer squirrel come out of his arm, it's just all just play around and have fun. Because now he doesn't care. Now he has all the power in his hands. I think he was very, very fun. I'm gonna stop talking about Cars now. I want you to talk about what you think of Cars, because I'm interested to hear like if you have any different opinions.
No, I agree. You had some great thoughts on him. Cars, he just wanted to better his species. Like he wanted to push them to the absolute limit.
Yeah.
Or to awaken their true potential.
Yeah, their Pillarman potential.
Mm-hmm. But you know that the regular Pillarmen, like, they're not as powerful as like the 3 Pillarmen,
Right, but don't they
because they
use
awoken with the stone mask.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they boosted their abilities a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they were like had powers beforehand? Do you think each power because each of the 3 Pillarmen have their own powers, do you think that they either gain those from the mask or like each Pillarman's born with their own special power? That's what I'm curious about.
Mm-hmm. I like to think that maybe there was like a hint of those abilities before, they got the stone mask power up.
Right.
But like it was not to that level,
Mm-hmm.
And also, yeah, did you know that the stone mask like only makes them turn into stone? Like that was the whole point of it.
Really? It's supposed to like make
before they got the stone mask, they would just straight up die like vampires in the sun.
Oh wow. Huh.
Yeah. You didn't know that, did you?
No. I thought that's interesting actually.
Yeah.
I was watching the Santana fight and I was thinking like, is this just what all Pillarmen can do? Because he's really plain and has like no other powers. So like I'm thinking he's just a base. Here's what I think. Here's my theory. I don't know if they confirm it or not. I'm probably stupid. They probably did. I think that the main 3 Pillarmen have their own powers because of the stone mask. But Santana is just a power that any Pillarman like normally would have.
Oh yeah, like he's a base Pillarman.
Yeah, I think that's why he's so generic. It's a Rocky showing this is how a normal Pillarman is. Now here are the 3 Pillarmen that they're gonna face, and they're much bigger. What's your highlight moment for Cars?
When he turns into the ultimate life form.
Yeah.
And that music starts playing.
Mm-hmm. We should get into the music later because that's a big part of why part 2 is so good. But my highlight moment for Cars is well, of course it's probably gonna be him like cheating and then stop caring once Joseph becomes a hypocrite. But I think I also love like that entire finale with him fighting Joseph. Because like most of the part was him going against Wamu. He didn't really care for Cars. And it's more so like Cars didn't care for Joseph either. And I was like, how are they gonna grow some like hatred against each other, right? It's not as personal as Dio and Jonathan's rivalry. But I like that they somehow built a connection between those two. When
it's a fun rivalry.
It's really it's fun. Although it's more so Cars just being like, I'm gonna kill you no matter what. And like I mean, part of the problem with Cars, I think, is that his power is so OP, where it's like, how are you gonna beat him in a reasonable way? And the way they do beat him, like, do you think it's too much, like too silly at all?
No, I think it fit perfectly for JoJo. Okay. Like the part was already established as being crazy, so.
Mm-hmm.
Like honestly, what other way could they have taken it? Your final thoughts on him?
I really like him. I think he's very underrated, but yeah, no, I like him.
Yeah, I'm gonna cover some of the side characters that are notable.
Okay, we can just give some quick thoughts. But I want to get into other stuff real quick.
Yeah, Robert E.O. Speedwagon on this part. Thoughts?
He's okay.
Yeah, he set up the Speedwagon Foundation, which is really important in later parts. So
yeah,
he's way more laid back this time. Like he's not like, oh JoJo, I love you. I will do anything.
Yeah, with Joseph though, where he's like, I can't lose another like one. I thought that really helped.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, but oh no, I didn't care. I mean, it's not that I don't like Speedwagon. It's just that I don't see the hype for him.
Yeah, you know, he's like whatever. He's okay. All right. Well, yeah. Lisa's 2, hormone guards, whatever. They exist. Like that's all I can say about them. And Arena Joestar, she's wholesome.
She's wholesome, yeah. She doesn't have a lot to do, but I like her presence though.
Yeah, Smokey Brown. He was a good sidekick. He was like a good sidekick in like the two like moments that he appeared and acted as a sidekick.
Yeah, I like how he became Obama at the end. That was very bold of a Rocky to do. But I like Smokey. I wish he kind of was the sidekick. Like if he just hung around for the sake of it.
Yeah,
It wouldn't have made much sense, but like it would have made the group feel much more alive and diverse. Because
he is fun.
He's very fun. Yeah, I love just seeing him, especially in the funeral when he just screams every time Joseph says something, or like when he runs again with cars and he's like, "He did it again! God damn it!" Like that one much more fun to see him like go throughout the part. It's also weird. Like, so did Speedwagon decide, yo, like Smokey, I know you have nothing to do with this, but you want to like come with me to like Italy so we can go fight the ultimate life form with some cyborg Nazis? Like,
yeah, what
sure.
was the conversation then?
I like Smokey though. I think he's very like underutilized though.
Yeah, Suzy Q.
She's wholesome. I wish we could have seen more of her relationship with Joseph, but I like her a lot. I think she's much more energetic, and like I think she's like Erina. I mean, they look exactly the same, but she's like Erina with a lot more spunk.
Yeah, with some more fun.
I would have loved to see more of her though, and like
with
Joseph.
Nice. Yeah, it's nice that she appears in the later parts. Like she gets little small nods.
I'm glad that actually happens. I need to see that. I can't wait to see that soon. Any other side characters?
Yeah, Santana. Yeah, he's a base filler, man. He exists. Like, there's this established the threat.
Yeah, he's okay. I like him. I like how he grows with the battle of like, oh, this is a gun, and he starts becoming more and more smart to the part where he like figures out Joseph's name and calls him by JoJo, and it's like that's cool. Like little touches, like seeing him evolve slowly, to, like the modern day. But he's okay. I like his fight a lot though.
Yeah, he's okay. Striso.
I liked him better than part 1, but I felt like his death was like supposed to be emotional, and it's like Dyer's death where I'm like, am I supposed to feel bad? Like you did nothing. Or on Striso's part, it's like you were a villain, you almost killed Speedwagon. Like why should I care?
So yeah, I like that he has more to do this time around, and he just doesn't exist.
I like his fight a lot. But yeah, is that all for side characters, or do you have any more we could talk about?
No, that's it. That's about it. Yes, we got everyone.
I think we've already talked about fights for like the remainder of this, but what? Just a little encapsulation of our thoughts. What do you think of the fights?
The fights, like this is what like hooked me into JoJo. Like I could not leave this series after this part.
I love all the fights. I think they're all really fun in their own ways. Like even ones that there's not a lot of action in, like the fight with the weird vampire in the mansion. Yeah, it's still memorable because like you saw the anime, right?
Yeah.
He always does these really weird, stupid noises, and I find it so funny. he was like, and it's so stupid, but I love it. I like that a lot. Even the lesser fights still are really memorable.
Yeah, like this part shows that Hamon can still be an interesting power. Like, yeah, like it's so versatile. Like you could really write it to do anything, and you would believe it.
No, you can't write it to do though.
What?
Last more than 2 parts.
Yeah.
No, it sucks that this is like the peak of Hamon, at least that we've seen.
But at least like, we ended off on a good note.
I want to see though if they use Hamon in any way like later on. They probably won't though. But that's my hope. But no, fights are really good, and I think it's gonna be interesting to transition over to stands. Which, by the way, I was super not looking forward to part 3, but now that I'm watching the show, I'm really excited to see it because like I just want to see how stands work now. Like, how can they compare to like the Hamon fights in part 2? Like, that's my thing.
Yeah.
What about music? Because music in part 2 is like really crucial to its popularity. I think.
What would you rate the music as a whole in this part? It's just fun.
It's really fun, yeah. And
that's how I could describe a lot of the music in this part. It's just fun to listen to. It's fun when it comes on in the show.
Yeah, the Pillarman theme's super fun. And it's
I love that theme so much.
And then Stroheim's theme slaps. I love it so much.
That's so awesome. It sounds powerful,
Yeah, because it's two. They usually play either like a full-on like marching band version of it with the German choir, or they just go full dubstep, and I love it. Like,
And Cars'
Mhm.
Ultimate Lifeform theme too.
Yeah, where it's like dubstep and like weird like opera. Like it's like a mix of different like styles of music. And I'm gonna be a total weeb for a second, right? The composer for this part is different from part one, but composer for part two did some music for some of my favorite like anime that I'm watching right now. He did the music for you ever heard of Gurren Lagann?
Oh yeah, I have.
He did the music for that, and that music's so good because like hip hop mixed with electronic mixed with like orchestra. It's basically like what part two's music is. But that show I've been watching, it's really good, and the music for that's also amazing. But he's like a really good composer because each thing he does is like his own thing. He mixes like different styles of music, and part two benefits greatly from that. Especially Caesar's death theme is so good. That's part of the reason why it's so sad too, because the music comes in the perfect moments, and I'm like, I'm gonna cry. Like it's so good.
It just fits so well.
Yeah. That's it for the music though.
Let's talk about the art style, which is actually identical to part one's art style in the anime.
Especially Joseph and Jonathan's design. They're both very similar, outside of Joseph having brown hair, which I think looks much better than that weird purple-blue hair that Jonathan had.
But part two in the manga is when like Araki's art style really started evolving.
Right, yeah. The art style is much more vibrant and like much more fun to look at.
Oh yeah,
and like I watched it on Crunchyroll, right? At least on my phone. And I don't know if you can do it on other platforms. Probably just me being inclusive because I only watched it on one platform. But compared to YouTube, like the intro is so like crisp in HD and so poppy and like so beautiful to look at. And like same with the fights, where like when it's in HD, like it's much more like vibrant and like energetic than like how boring part one looked, I feel.
Yeah, like just like looking at a screen cap, like it's just a lot more colorful
and a lot more like energetic, and the designs are way better and
vibrant.
Like, yeah, and I
also
love,
it helps that the characters are like doing more in the fights. They're not really standing still for the narrator to talk.
Yeah, especially the Caesar Zappelli fight with Wamu.
Yeah,
there's a lot of good animation there because it's almost always it's all just them moving around and fighting more so than exposition. But we haven't talked about this yet, but I love the Pillarman designs.
they do look cool.
It looks like gay Aztec strippers, but I love it. It's so stupid. It's so funny too. Do you want to do your final verdict?
Yeah, I'm gonna give this part probably a 9 out of 10. I just think it's such an improvement on part one. Like it has better characters, a better story, honestly, better villains.
Much better, I think.
Better, like just about better everything. Like I cannot stress it enough that it's just such an improvement. So yeah, 9 out of 10.
I think I'm gonna go for a 8 out of 10. One lower. Cause I feel like some of the issues, like the narration, kind of gets a little bit annoying, and just like some of the characters that I think are really cool, like Stroheimer and Lisa, don't have a lot to do. I mean, Stroheimer has a big impact, with his Nazi army, but he doesn't have like enough cool, memorable moments. But I agree with everything you said. Like something about the way, like it feels like part one, but way better. It's like an improvement on everything part one did, and the fights are all really fun. They're all consistently good or entertaining. It feels like he caught gold, and like the emotional stuff hits really well, especially in the finale with the of course the Zappelli fight, but also like the when Joseph is like fighting cars and they start playing Sono Chino Sadome, which caught me off guard, but like that, it really helped drive home how like parts 1 and 2 are kind of like, it builds a connection between both of those, and made me realize that no matter how different each part will be, they'll always all be distinctly JoJo.
Yeah.
How they're always bound by being selfless, and they're always Joestars in the end, no matter how different they are. And that sounds really cheesy, but I'll give it an 8 out of 10 because I really liked it, and I'm super excited for part 3. We'll be taking a 4-week break or so for JoJo, or at least 4.5 weeks, because I'll be finishing part 3 and watching it 10 episodes per weekend, and then we'll be back.
Good.
So That's what I'm gonna have to say. I'm excited for part 3. Anything you want to say before we wrap it up?
No. Just hope you guys enjoyed.
Yeah, hopefully it was better. This is gonna be a lot of editing because we had a lot of mix-ups and goofs, but it'll be worth it. Hopefully this doesn't suck. Anyways, I'm Andrew Escona,
and I'm Shin.
and as we're gonna say at the end of every podcast, Nigarundayo. Okay, we're done. 血脈に刻まれた因縁に浮き上がる消えない誇りの絆握りしめて